November 24, 1944, Tokyo, Imperial Japanese Army Headquarters. Major General Arasu Seizo sits at his desk reviewing intelligence reports from the latest B-29 raid. 88 superfortresses hit the Nakajima aircraft plant. 17 were shot down by fighters and anti-aircraft fire. 71 made it back to their bases in the Marianas. Arasu commands the Army's Intelligence Bureau. His job is to know everything about enemy capabilities. He's been tracking B-29 operations since the first raid in June. 6 months of data, 6 months of counting aircraft, analyzing tactics, estimating production rates. He picks up a pen and does the math again. The Americans have been flying missions for 6 months. They've lost approximately 120 B-29s to all causes: combat, accidents, mechanical failures. They're currently flying missions with around 80 to 100 aircraft at a time. Based on these numbers, Arasu estimates that America has built roughly 200 B-29 superfortresses total. Maybe 250 if you account for training aircraft and reserves. This is actually good news. Japan's factories are producing around 1,500 fighters per month. If America only has 200 heavy bombers, Japan can win this through attrition. Shoot down 3 or 4 per raid, force them to replace losses. Eventually, the bomber offensive will collapse under its own weight. Arasu writes his assessment in the Daily Intelligence Summary. Enemy B-29 force strength estimated at 200 aircraft maximum. Current loss rates sustainable for Imperial Defense Forces. The report goes up the chain. It reaches the desks of generals planning Japan's air defense strategy. It influences decisions about fighter production, pilot training, ammunition allocation. Everyone in Tokyo believes the same thing. America has around 200 B-29s. The bomber offensive is large but manageable. Japan can endure this. What none of them know is that at this exact moment, Boeing's factories in Wichita, Renton, and Omaha have already delivered 21 32 B-29 superfortresses to the U.S. Army Air Forces, with more than 17,000 additional aircraft in various stages of production. By the time the war ends 9 months later, Boeing will have built 39 70 B-29s. Japan's intelligence estimate isn't off by a little. It's off by a factor of 20. Let's understand how Japanese intelligence got this so wrong. Major General Arasu wasn't incompetent. His methodology was sound. You count enemy aircraft, you track losses, you estimate production based on observed force levels. Every military in the world does this. Here's what Arasu knew for certain. The first B-29 raid on Tokyo came on November 24, 1944. The first raid on the Japanese home islands from the Marianas. Before this, B-29s had been operating from China in small numbers, hitting targets in Manchuria and Kyushu. From the Marianas, the Americans were flying missions every few days. Raid sizes ranged from 60 to 100 aircraft, sometimes fewer if weather was bad or if they were hitting secondary targets. Japanese air defense was claiming kills. Accurate accounting was difficult, but Arasu's analysts estimated they were shooting down 3-5 B-29s per major raid. Some raids saw higher losses. The Americans admitted to mechanical failures and accidents that claimed additional aircraft. So Arasu did what any intelligence officer would do. He calculated backwards from observed force strength to estimated production. If the Americans are flying 80-plane raids and they've been operating for 6 months and they're losing aircraft at a steady rate, they probably have around 200 total aircraft. Maybe they're building 30 or 40 per month to replace losses and slowly expand the force. This made sense. The B-29 was the most complex bomber ever built. 4 massive engines, pressurized cabin, remote-controlled gun turrets, advanced electronics. Surely such a sophisticated aircraft took time to manufacture. Surely production rates were limited by the complexity. Japan's own bomber production supported this assumption. Japan's most advanced bomber, the Nakajima G8N, was in development but plagued by problems. Japanese factories were struggling to build 100 bombers per month of much simpler designs. The idea that America could build hundreds of B-29s seemed impossible, so 200 seemed like a reasonable, even generous estimate. What Arasu didn't understand was that he was making a fundamental error. He was calculating American production capacity using Japanese industrial limitations as a reference point. He was trying to understand an elephant by studying a rabbit. In Wichita, Kansas, the Boeing Plant 2 operates 24 hours a day, 3 shifts, 30,000 workers. The factory floor covers 4.2 million square feet under one roof. It's so large that supervisors use bicycles to get from one end to the other. B-29 production is not artisanal craftsmanship. It's industrial mass production taken to its logical extreme. The aircraft is broken down into 5 major sections: forward fuselage, center wing section, aft fuselage, tail section, outer wing panels. Each section is built on separate assembly lines by specialized teams. The sections come together on the final assembly line where the complete aircraft takes shape in a matter of days. Boeing uses jigs, fixtures, and templates for everything. Parts are standardized. Every B-29 built in Wichita is identical to every B-29 built in Renton or Omaha. An engine from one aircraft will fit perfectly on any other aircraft. A wing panel is interchangeable. Even complex subsystems like turrets and radar are standardized modules that plug into standardized mounting points. This is not how Japan builds aircraft. Japanese manufacturing still relies heavily on skilled craftsmen hand-fitting parts. Each aircraft is slightly different. Parts from one plane often don't fit another without modification. It's slower, more labor-intensive. And it doesn't scale. Boeing has scaled. By November 1944, Boeing's 3 plants are completing one B-29 every 45 minutes during peak production, not one per factory. One total across all 3 plants. That's 16 aircraft per day, 480 per month, and it's accelerating. The Army Air Forces originally ordered 16 B-29s. Then they increased the order to 3,000, then 5,000. Boeing just builds whatever number they're given. The limiting factor isn't factory capacity. It's how many the Air Forces can crew and maintain. Japanese intelligence has no idea this is happening. They see 80 aircraft over Tokyo and assume that represents a significant portion of America's total B-29 force. They don't realize that 80 aircraft is what Boeing built in the last 5 days. The raids continue. December, January, February. Japanese fighters tear into the formations. B-29s are tough, but they're not invincible. A determined attack with 20 cannons can bring one down. Ramming attacks kill both pilots but guarantee a kill. Anti-aircraft fire over Tokyo is intense. Some raids lose 5% of attacking aircraft. Some lose 10%. And yet the raids keep coming. Every few days, then every other day, then daily. The formations get larger. 100 aircraft, 150 aircraft. By March 1945, some raids involve 300 B-29s simultaneously. Arisu revises his estimates upward. Maybe America built 300 B-29s, maybe 400. The production rate must be higher than initially calculated. Perhaps they're building 50 per month. But even revised estimates don't capture the reality, because Arisu is still thinking in terms of replacement production. He assumes the Americans need to replace combat losses and slowly build up strength. He doesn't conceive of a production system that's building aircraft faster than they can possibly be lost. By March 1945, Boeing has delivered over 3,000 B-29s. The XXI Bomber Command in the Marianas has more aircraft than they have qualified crews. Planes sit at airfields waiting for pilots. The bottleneck isn't production, it's training enough crews to fly them. The gap between perception and reality has become absurd. Japan thinks America has a few hundred B-29s total. America has thousands, with hundreds more arriving every month. The firebombing of Tokyo on March 9, 10, 1945, finally forces a reassessment. 334 B-29s attack Tokyo at low altitude, dropping incendiaries. The raid kills over 100,000 people and destroys 16 square miles of the city. It's the deadliest air raid in history, but what shocks Japanese intelligence isn't the destruction, it's the number of aircraft. Where did 334 bombers come from? How is this possible? Arisu's analysts scramble. They review every intelligence report from the past year. They count aircraft observed in reconnaissance photos of American bases in the Marianas. They intercept radio traffic. They interview pilots who have engaged B-29s. The new estimate comes back. America might have 600 to 800 B-29s in the Pacific, maybe more. This number is terrifying. It suggests American production is far higher than anyone calculated, but even this revised estimate is catastrophically wrong. America doesn't have 800 B-29s in the Pacific. America has built over 32 B-29s total by March 1945. Over 2,000 are in operational units. Hundreds more are in training commands. The rest are in depot maintenance or being modified. Japan is not fighting against a limited bomber force that can be attrited into ineffectiveness. Japan is fighting against an industrial system that builds bombers faster than they can be destroyed. The math is brutal. On a very good day, Japanese air defenses shoot down 20 B-29s. Boeing builds 16 B-29s per day. On average days, Japanese defenses shoot down 5 or 6. The Americans are gaining aircraft even while losing them to combat. By summer 1945, the truth becomes unavoidable. American raids involve 400, 500, sometimes 600 aircraft. The B-29s are hitting every city in Japan. They're dropping leaflets listing which cities will be bombed next. They're flying with impunity. Japanese intelligence finally grasps the scale. America didn't build hundreds of B-29s. America built thousands. The industrial capacity is beyond anything Japan can match or even comprehend. By the time Japan surrenders in August, Boeing has built 3970 B-29 Superfortresses. The actual number is nearly 20 times higher than initial Japanese estimates. Why did this miscalculation matter? Because it shaped Japan's entire air defense strategy. If you think the enemy has 200 bombers, you plan to destroy them through attrition. You accept losses because you believe you can win a battle of attrition. If you knew the enemy had 4,000 bombers with more being built daily, you'd realize attrition is impossible. You'd realize you're fighting an unwinnable battle. You might make different strategic decisions, but Japan didn't know. They calculated based on what seemed reasonable. And reasonable calculations, when applied to an enemy with utterly unreasonable industrial capacity, produce catastrophically wrong answers. The B-29 production story isn't just about airplanes. It's about the danger of mirror imaging. Japan assumed American production worked like Japanese production, slower, limited, constrained by complexity. America didn't play by those rules. When Boeing was told to build thousands of the most complex bomber ever designed, they didn't say it was too hard. They built 3 factories, hired 100,000 workers, and delivered 1 aircraft every 45 minutes. Japanese intelligence officers weren't stupid. They were making rational calculations based on incomplete information. Their mistake was assuming that everyone faced the same limitations Japan faced. They didn't. And that difference decided the war. If this kind of behind-the-scenes industrial story interests you, there's more content like this on the channel. Hit subscribe if you want to see more of these deep dives. And if you think this story deserves to be shared, the like button helps others find it.